very warm welcome to part 2 of this series, shocking proof that Raila sensed, actually knew, his life was ending. Okay? And if you took in part 1 of this video, you will know that we covered 3 solid pieces of evidence proving the same. Now the first one that we're covering in this part 2 is very intriguing. Okay? Now, you know, in many African cultures, the person who takes over the mantle of an important leader or the head of the family is a man. Isn't that true? However, those who knew Raila Odinga very well will know that he really believed in the leadership of women. Okay? In fact, he was a very strong proponent for the gender rule to be applied in Parliament according to a constitution, which has still not happened. Yeah? And so it is super fascinating that this gender issue has also come into play in the Raila succession. And this is over the very simple question: who takes over the mantle of this very important African leader? Who will continue with the legacy? And of course, a lot of that legacy is political. You cannot say nobody. There has to be somebody. So who will do this? Who is best equipped? And even most important, who was best prepared to take over this mantle? Okay, we're going to cover that on my show today. This second part of my series, Shocking Proof Raila Sensed His Life Was Ending. Now, my highly sensitive special report on how is it even possible that Raila was assassinated, that's the title, is out. And my friends, it's sizzling. The information contained, now you can see details on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 3,999, you can have this highly sensitive special report. Okay? And then you will have the complete picture of this super fascinating research that has engrossed me, that has taken me, that has taken hold of me completely for a very long time, culminating where I've even gone AWOL on this channel. Okay? Now, point number 4. There are very strong indications that in the last few months of Raila Odinga's life, he went out of his way to make special preparations, to prepare very specifically and very intensively his daughter Winnie Odinga to take over his mantle. Now, if you're active on social media, you'll already know that there's a controversy, and so many commentators have come out and told us that actually that mantle is not going to the son, Raila Odinga Jr., but actually belongs to the daughter, the last-born, Winnie Odinga. And they have also told us their spirited efforts, because men will always be men in whatever culture. There's a lot of resistance towards this truth that it is Winnie, and people are trying to force the inheritance of this mantle on somebody else. Of course, we all know that even spiritually that is impossible. But then that has not stopped them from trying. So they're making very spirited efforts to try and prove, no, it's not her. Okay? So that already should tell you, iko kitu. Now, people are prepared all the time, and I'm sure it is true to say that Winnie has been prepared for decades, for many years. However, when somebody starts to go out of their way to intensify the preparations of somebody, then you know, they suspect or they know something is about to happen, and this person will have to step up sooner than maybe people had imagined before. Okay? Point number 6. And to me, this was a very, very convincing one of what was going on here. Yeah, very convincing. It tallies with those who wanted to maliza Raila and how they did it, the method they used. It tallies and confirms all that information. And this is the choice of the clinic Raila made for his treatment. Yeah, in fact, where he passed on. The place where he had a cardiac arrest that ended his life. Now, this was an alternative medicine clinic. What is alternative medicine? Alternative medicine is medicine that does not involve the medicine you and I know. Yeah, the kawaida doctor, hospital, etc., etc. Yeah, and usually it focuses on other alternative methods of treatment. Yeah, like herbalism, using herbs to treat, rather than the conventional medicine. Okay, it may also involve homeopathy. Now, this is a very interesting method of treatment where natural substances are used, and these natural substances are used in very small doses, because if they're used in larger dosages, they tend to produce the very symptoms that are being treated. Very fascinating. And also things like acupuncture, etc., etc. Now, this particular clinic was in a very remote area of India called Kochi, which is very, very far away from major cities like Mumbai. Actually, it's almost 1,500 kilometers away from Mumbai. Iko mbali sana sana. Actually, if we're to put it bluntly, this is a clinic for hopeless cases. Okay, last resort, where medicine has been defeated. Yeah, conventional medicine. This is where people come. Interestingly, this is the same place where Rosemary Odinga, Raila's daughter, was able to partially recover her sight, as a result of treatment from this particular clinic. It is super fascinating, the conversation President Ruto described at the funeral that he had with Raila. I'm sure most of us remember that, where Ruto told us that he told the people's president that somebody's health is not something people gamble with. Yeah, and of course he was referring to Raila's health. Now, we know in the past, Raila has used conventional medicine many times with a preference for German medical advances. We know that. And therefore, it is safe to assume that in this instance, Raila Odinga knew that whatever had happened to him, the usual hospital doctor would not be able to handle. And maybe this is even the verdict he had already been given. And therefore, his choice of this particular clinic is very, very instructive. It is also worth noting that actually Raila had recovered from the emergency that had brought him here. And he was due to fly back to Kenya in the next 2 days, around the 18th of October. But unfortunately, he passed on the 15th. In my opinion, his choice of this clinic over all the other suggestions, Europe, the US, even India, conventional medical facilities, his choice of this one over all the others tells us a lot, and also tells us very clearly about his state of mind in those last few days. Okay? Point number 7. Now, this is very interesting. We know that initially Raila very strongly resisted any suggestion of a handshake with Ruto. But somewhere along the road, he changed his mind. Why? Why did he change his mind and embrace a broad-based government when he was very much aware? Because the people's president was always very sensitive to what the people wanted, what the people were thinking, what the people were saying. Why did he go against the grain this time round and embrace a broad-based government? You know, when somebody who has been acting consistently all along suddenly does something that is very inconsistent, yeah, something that is not like him, you must answer the question, why? Because there's usually a very good reason. And that good reason, usually there's a very huge, shocking story behind it. In my humble opinion, the reason why Raila chose the broad-based government was because of the alternative, especially considering the fact that he was aware of that he did not have long to live. When you think about it deeply, very deeply, you will realize this was the safest place to leave the people under the circumstances, the very dire circumstances. Actually, there was no other option, because the other option would leave the people in very dangerous waters and without a leader capable of steering them through that. Okay? I hope that is clear. Now, of course, I'm aware that you still have many questions after taking in this two-part series. You still have a lot of question marks here and there. I can assure you that they are fully answered in my very latest, highly sensitive special report on this topic. Now, before I go, I want to play you a brief clip. Listen in. I'll be back. It was executed by introducing two specially designed pills in a normal pill box, yeah, where the patient is supposed to take one pill per day. Just two rogue pills were introduced, and we know there are two because one was found and it was assumed the other one was taken because the symptoms and everything that happened, what his dead body was telling experts, this is exactly what he took that ended his life. Now, the usual dosage for ephedrine is 12.5 milligrams, 25 milligrams tops every 4 hours. Now, these killer pills were 1,000 milligrams. Now, remember, we're talking about assassinations where the start date and the date where it finally happens are very far apart. So in this particular instance, we do not know. Anyway, you can get this super fascinating information pop in your inbox. Now you can see details on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 3,999, you will be able to get this red, sizzling hot, moto kuliko pasi kumi ya makaa special report. How is it even possible that Raila was assassinated? How? Where? Who did it? How was it done? What was the motive? Etc., etc. All those questions are answered in great detail so that you will have all the answers to this very sad state of affairs. Now, of course, it is true that somebody who is as old as 80, anything can happen. You can't really say they were assassinated. That is the feeling of many people, and of course it is true. However, it is also true that people live to be 90. People live to be 100. It really depends on the individual and the health facilities available to them, and of course the number of days allocated to them on this planet by the Most High. Yeah, of course all those factors come in, but there's no denying, we cannot ignore, the conclusive evidence that shows us huyu mtu alimalizwa. Okay, and it is all in this highly sensitive special report. I need to remind you again that the people who are behind this si watu wa mchezo, and therefore one cannot be too careful. So forgive me for not having this information available on the public channel. But if you're able to, please go for this highly sensitive special report. Now, in case you still want the golden key, which will give you not only this highly sensitive special report, but also other special reports, everything kumekucha, forever, yeah, not for 2 years or 3 years, yeah. You can see details on your screens right now. If you still want the golden key and you're a bit late, then please take full advantage of this offer. Going forward, this offer will not exist. Yeah, you'll only be able to get an annual golden key. Okay, so please take full advantage of it now that it is available. And of course, it is ending very, very quickly. So please make a decision quickly. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.